Alright, in today's video we are going to tackle yet another Jaymz guitar kit. These things are a lot of fun. This time we got a hardtail single pickup Strat, better known as the Tom DeLong signature model. Let's get started. Alright, here's the box it comes in if you're interested in such things. And I purchased this kit. I am in no way affiliated with the Jaymz company, nor did they provide anything to me. This is my own thoughts and opinions on this product. The kit arrived in great shape, and as usual, the body and the neck looked fantastic. And here's a look at what comes in the box. Like most guitar kits, everything you need to get started is included. This particular kit comes with a mahogany body. That's kind of their take on a Seymour Duncan Invader, which is, I guess, what the Tom DeLong guitar comes with. And as usual, you have all the hardware. You even provide a cable and a strap. And strap locks are included in there too, which is pretty cool. And as this is a paddleboard style headstock, you can shape it however you want. Alright, before we get started, this will be the first of at least 2 videos. For this video, I want to put the guitar together using all of the manufactured supplied parts. Having put together several kits, I think 5 or 6 at this point, I already know some of these parts are going to be, let's just say, less than quality, and others will be perfectly usable. And then in follow-up videos, we'll modify this thing, make it something unique, something cool. So, all right, first thing we got to tackle is the headstock. Nobody in their right mind would stick with that, so we got to decide on what to do with that. I decided to go with the 70s style Strat headstock, so I just went online and downloaded a template. Of course, a jigsaw makes quick work of this job, but if you don't have one of those, you can always just use a handsaw. I can't imagine anybody's too interested in watching me saw, so the only thing I'm going to say here is take as much off as you can with the saw to limit the amount of sanding that you'll have to do to shape the headstock. See, here's my sanding equipment. I like to start with the low grit, like 60 or 80, and then go up into roughly the 200-300 grit, and that's a good place to stop. This drill attachment I'm showing here is a fantastic way to sand those hard to get to spots. And just a heads up, when you build a guitar or put together a kit, understand sanding is going to take up a large amount of your time. Another helpful tip, save that piece of maple that you cut out on your headstock so you can use it for testing paints and stains if that's what you choose to do down the road. And this is also a great time to check the neck to see how straight it is. This step is critical if you're going to do any fret leveling, as you need to have a perfectly straight neck to be successful at that task. This neck actually has a forward bow, which is what I'm showing here, so using that tool that the manufacturer provides, the little Allen wrench, I'm going to level it. Forward bend is no good, means the strings will sort of fret out in the middle of the guitar, so this is something that needs to be addressed right away. Of course, strings add a lot of tension to the neck, so even if it's straight now, by the time it's strung up and tuned up, it's very possible there'll be a little bit of a back bow, and a little bit is just fine. Just no forward bow. All right, so the headstock is shaped. I went with the 70s Strat-ish. The paddle shape wasn't quite right for a perfect copy, so I had to do a little bit of freehanding, but I think it looks pretty good, definitely in the ballpark. it was no problem cutting. Let your saw do the bulk of the work, and then I go in with some pretty low grit. I think it was 60 or 80 sandpaper to kind of shape it up. You saw that tool I put in the drill. That's really nice for these hard to get places. And then I kind of go back up the grits, and I think I landed around 200 or 300, which is great for finishing. So there's not much to this. With one pickup and it's already all installed, this shouldn't take too long, but we'll find out how well this stuff fits together. My one comment on the neck, and this isn't a problem per se, but from the factory, it came quite bowed, meaning forward bow. Back bow's fine if it's not too much. Straight obviously is ideal. The string tension will bow it a little bit, so really straight's your starting point, and of course for leveling it has to be straight. So anyways, my comment is it was quite a bit of forward bow, far more than any other kit that I've had. So it did take quite a few quarter turns. It probably ended up being more like a full turn with the truss rod adjustment to get it back to level. So something you definitely want to check out if you get one of these kits. We're in the heart of winter, and I don't know where this comes from, so it may have been through temperature extremes. I'm in Florida. With that said, again, that's not a problem, just something to be aware of, and definitely you're going to need to level it for any kind of fret wear. The only other observation, which is a given, is this nut is plastic. It's going to have to go, and it's going to be way too tall for the strings. I can tell that already. And this is all of the Leo Jaymz kits. These are some of the smallest frets, meaning not just narrow, but they're not very tall either. It's not a problem. They play just fine. Probably won't last as long as a thicker, taller one, but again, that's just a personal preference. So anyways, that's where we're at. Now it's time to put this thing together. Quick side note, these are very nicely packaged with numbers that correspond to nothing. I'm assuming there was a manual that either didn't get put in with this kit, or if there's instructions to go online or something, I haven't found them, so it's possible that's what they want you to do. I'm not worried about it. I can figure it all out, but I just thought I'd throw this out as a side note. The last two, no, that's not true. The last one had a beautiful instruction manual, full color. The one before was like this. It did not have any kind of instruction manual, but everything was laid out. So just so you know.
All right, so here I'm checking the fit of the neck, which I'm kind of surprised I haven't done up to this point. And it's got a little bit of movement, but actually it's pretty good. I'm happy with it. Here I'm just showing you the hardware to attach the neck that the kit comes with. All of them, for whatever reason, throw that plastic piece in there, which as you can see, I just discard. It's completely unnecessary. Just like the two kits before it, the neck holes line up beautifully with the body. Everything goes on very easy and very smooth. All you need is a screwdriver and a little bit of elbow grease. My only recommendation here is to tighten the screws in the back or towards the back of the guitar first, just to better hold the neck into place. And just like that, it looks like a guitar. Alright, next step, and a painful one at that, was installing the provided tuners. Like most kits and cheap guitars, this is definitely an area that's worthy of an upgrade. Most tuners, including those you buy online, have 10mm nuts, so have a 10mm socket handy for this part, and even if you replace to something else, odds are it'll be the same size. A final note on the tuners: inexpensive doesn't mean bad. Some of my favorite tuners are either Wilkinson or Geiger. Usually you can get a whole set for $40-50, even locking ones, and they're fantastic. It's definitely worth the upgrade. And when you get to the little screws on the back, don't over tighten them. The last thing you want to do is break one of those off in that hard maple. Alright, next up is to install the string trees that came with the kit. These are that batwing style. I know a lot of folks like to upgrade to the roller style string trees, but this batwing styles come on some of my Mexican fenders and they work just fine, so that may be something I keep. I don't know, it'll be a game time decision once I decide what I'm going to do with this thing when I modify it. Alright, I've laid everything out. It's just sitting in place just to see if everything's lining up like it should. And at an initial glance, all the pick guard holes are in place. Looks like this is going to be in the right place. This is the ground, and I can see I'm going to have to strip away, maybe even shorten it, or at least strip away some. The only thing that looks like it's going to be a maybe problem is this guy here isn't moving this way enough to meet the holes, so I'm probably going to have to maybe change the spacer. I don't know, I'll have to play around and see, because right now this is going to be a problem, but everything else looks like it's lining up. So I'll deal with that, and then we'll get this thing together. Alright, this is a solderless kit, so all the wires just plug and play. So that's what I'm doing, is connecting, of course, with one pickup and one volume. There's only one thing to plug in. So I'm doing that, and I'm going to just secure everything down with the provided screws. So I'm going to speed this up here, and we'll get to the end once it's together. Ridge screws went in no problem, and to solve the issue with the input jack being off, I just removed the spacer and sanded it down a little bit, and that provided just enough space for it to fit nice. When you purchase a guitar kit, very seldom does everything come together perfectly, so expect a little improvising as needed, and that's not such a bad thing. Helps you learn better how a guitar works, and then that makes it easier for you to modify or repair your more expensive guitars. And yes, I only put in 4 of the pickguard screws because I already know this thing's going to get modified and it's coming back off. And this is a great time to test to make sure everything works. And to be honest, I was real curious about this pickup. I think a real Seymour Duncan Invader's a super high output. I want to say it's around maybe 16. I'll have to check that. I don't know if you can read that or not, but this one's right around 11. So, you know, like a traditional PAF style pickup, usually going to be around 8 or 9. So this is just a little bit hotter than that, but nowhere near as hot as an actual Seymour Duncan Invader, which is clearly what it's meant to mimic. And here I'm just pointing out that this kit actually did come with strap locks. 2 of the 3 kits actually came with strap locks. And since it's a hardtail, which to be honest is why I bought it, I always wanted a hardtail Strat, I'm putting the ferrules into the back. Alright, time to string this up. Of course, I'm not going to make you watch all of that, but do note that I am using the provided strings, so this ought to be interesting. Alright, time to tune it up and check it out. Now notice I've done absolutely no setup because I want to see how the guitar comes from the factory. Alright, I'm going to give this a proper demonstration, but I wanted to give you some first impressions now that I've put it together, and as I promised, I've used only the things provided in the kit, barring the modification of the headstock shape. So first impressions, starting with the tuners, look, they're not very good. I didn't expect them to be, so that's no surprise. Probably the worst thing that makes this guitar unplayable is the nut. I mean, it's insanely high. So I'm going to have to address that before I can even give you a good sound sample. And then, of course, because of that, the action's also very high. But these are easy fixes. You can either do each slot or take the whole thing out and sand it down. Either way, I'm going to replace it. I'm going to replace all this stuff. But I just want to give you some first impressions. Sound samples are not going to be in tune because of this. That's mostly this guy right here, and of course brand new strings, cheap strings, although they're holding tune, which means it's all in here. Of course nobody's buying this thing to play clean stuff, probably buying it to play. So that's what this guitar is probably going to be used for in this configuration. Remember, this is a knockoff. It's not a Seymour Duncan. I think, what did we test it? Around 11. I think a Duncan's going to be more in the 16 range, so it's not nearly as hot. But with that said, let me get at least this thing playable, and I'll be back with a proper sound sample for you. All right, to get this thing playable, we only need a couple things. We need a way to file the frets down. I just got this set of cheapies from Amazon. It'll make quick work of that plastic, and again, this nut's gonna go away anyways, but I want to be true to how I started, and that's keeping it with its original parts. So I'm gonna use that, and then the height is a little Allen wrench, which the manufacturer provides, so we can lower that via this. And the intonation, pulling these guys back or forward, you just need a little screwdriver for it. So I'm gonna have you watch me do this, but that's how I'm going to do it. And then when I come back, we'll hear this thing, hopefully, in its proper setup with all sorts of cool sounds in a more professional manner. All right, it seemed appropriate to wrap this video up with my other two Leo Jaymz guitar kits, which have obviously been completely modified, and give you my final thoughts. So first and foremost, these kits are fantastic. I don't think it's reasonable to spend 80, 90 bucks and expect a perfect guitar. I honestly don't think the manufacturers even expect people to keep most of the hardware. The tuners are terrible, the nuts horrible. But what matters most is the body and the neck, and in all three cases they've been great. Of course, there's a little bit of the subjectiveness to looks, but I think it's cool how they've gone a little bit out of the traditional form, with this Telecaster, with humbuckers and a trem system. This is a pretty standard Strat here, but this guy's a little bit unusual. It's a hardtail Strat with one humbucker. And this one, make no mistake, will get modified heavily. Like these two, it'll probably be my next video. So if you want to see and hear what I do with this one, look forward to that. There is one thing I do want to note. This guitar and this guitar have
thicker necks than this guitar. I kind of assumed they'd all be the same, but they're not. This one's a little bit thinner. Maybe that's a fluke, maybe that's by design, I don't know. But all of them are good necks, and that's what's most important. And I don't know what kind of wood this is. It's advertised as mahogany, but maybe it's some kind of Asian variation of it. But both of these guitars came in very light. This one I just weighed, it's about 6.5 pounds, which is an awesome weight for a guitar. Same with this one. This one's just slightly heavier. So overall, they're fantastic. They're fun. I think I'm addicted. I probably end up getting another one. And I'm very excited about modifying this one. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do, but it'll probably be my next video. So I hope you enjoyed.